And now, from the Career Tech Studios in Stillwater, here's your host, Rob McClinton.
Well, for many of us, our Western heritage is something we take for granted. Yet increasingly, it's being recognized for both its cultural and economic impact. And probably one of the best examples is now an exhibit at the Oklahoma History Center, which took me back to my grandparents' living room on a Saturday evening in that unforgettable show open.
Welcome to Hee Haw, starring Buck Owens and Roy Clark.
For 25 years, they were a weekly appointment on many a TV set.
Looking back on it now, what could have been better? I mean, Hee Haw says it all.
The year was 1969, and CBS was needing a summer replacement for the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour.
We made a decision that maybe we ought to entertain a show that would be with music and quick cut one-liners like laughing.
I hate my mother-in-law.
Well, if it wasn't for your mother-in-law, you wouldn't have your wife.
That's another reason I hate her.
And a new TV genre was born that can trace its roots back to early Oklahoma.
Before movies were common in small towns around Oklahoma, you had traveling tent shows. And these tent shows would feature short dramatic plays. In between the acts would be comedy routines, bringing vaudeville out to rural Oklahoma.
Bob Blackburn is the executive director of the Oklahoma History Center and says that's why a temporary exhibit highlights the cultural impact of a show that, while popular with viewers, was often dismissed by the critics for its country humor.
You know, they say he's 94, never looked at a girl in his life, never smoked, took a drink, or gambled.
Beats me why he wanted to live so long.
Internationally, Hee Haw is a show that is exposing people for the first time to this new kind of music that comes from the heart. It's generally about family, it's about hard times, it's about friends and lovers and lost love. And
with lots of cornball jokes.
Yeah. Are you spitting in that pot over there this afternoon?
No, but I was coming pretty close to it.
A comical music hour that depended heavily on Oklahoma entertainers.
And Roy could play comedy and sing. He was the first person that we went after when the creation of Hee Haw got started. Buck really made a contribution to Hee Haw because of his music and, of course, of his recording. He was a good setup man. So it worked. The combination of the two was just a beautiful relationship.
I crossed the hoot now. Where'd the nanny go?
What'd he get?
I got a hoot nanny.
And while canceled by CBS after just 2 years, Hee Haw only grew in popularity when it went into first-run syndication in 1971.
One of my associates came to me. He said, the critics are running this show down. It is so bad that the people are going to look at this show as a result of what the critics are saying. Is it all that bad? And that was the turning point. Because the people were reading what the critics were saying, tuned into us and said, hey, it's a great show. It's a family show. And the ratings went whoop, went right up.
You know, Nurse Goodbody asked me if my eyes had ever been checked. I told her no. They've been blue all my life.
Success that helped launch the careers of many a young Oklahoma entertainer.
I mean, if you think about it, Hee Haw was probably the most massive exposure country music ever got. As corny as it was, it really mattered. It really mattered for this music's history and this music's place.
Blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots, ruined your black tie.
You know, Hee Haw was built around guest stars. All of the big stars, Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Garth Brooks, Loretta Lynn, Tammy Wynette, George Jones, well, you just name them. They all did Hee Haw. And to a lot of them, it was the first national exposure that they got.
I got to do the cornfield twice. I got to do it with Grandpa once. And Grandpa called me Clint. Everyone was calling me Clint Black at that time. Everyone was calling everybody Clint at that time.
You know, Clint.
Everybody on there was sweet. So this is what Hee Haw did. They were tongue-in-cheek, yes, but they took their business very seriously, and what they hung their hat on, guys like Roy Clark, Buck Owens, Charlie McCoy, Sam Lavello, what they hung their hat on was the top list of artists of entertainment in country music. And I felt very lucky to be on that show, not only for its national exposure, but just to be on a show that treated country music in such high respect as that show did.
Sold to Oklahoma's Gaylord family, Hee Haw continued its first-run syndication all the way through 1993. It can still be found on air in reruns on RFD TV.
It made a lasting impression on people. Families have grown up, grandparents, parents, and kids. So we've had three, going on 4 generations of people who have kept Hee Haw alive.
Well, good night, Mr. Owens.
Good night, Mr. Clark.
And good night, everybody else. And we'll see you next week on Hee Haw.
Well, what you just saw are excerpts of a very well put together Hee Haw documentary. Now, to see more of it and a really interesting exhibit that runs through May 1st, just visit the Oklahoma History Center.